The following is a Midnight in Chicago FYI news bulletin for Saturday, December 27, 2008. It was reported on December 18th that Autism Speaks has been officially designated as a non-governmental organization associated with the United Nations Department of Public Information. Members of the autism community who have for years been complaining about what many believe to be unethical messages put out by Autism Speaks with regards to autism spectrum disorders may not see this news as favorable. Autism Vox recently quoted a documentary entitled Autism: True Lives, in which Harry and Laura Slatkin, active members of Autism Speaks, made objectionable commentary regarding their autistic son. In the documentary entitled Autism: True Lives, Harry Slatkin described the very large pond next to their home in the Hamptons. "We put locks on all the doors leading outside because we didn't want David possibly going into the pond. But there were times when you hope he did, because you wouldn't want him to suffer like this all his life." Autism Vox reports that Laura Slatkin said everyone urged them to cut this from the documentary, but they chose to leave it in. Since then, they've spoken to many families, according to them, who say that they all share that hidden dark thought. Alison Tepper-Singer, Vice President for Communications at Autism Speaks, stated in the Autism Everyday video put out by Autism Speaks,
"There are parents who are forced to put kids in schools that are completely overcrowded and 12 kids and one teacher. And the kids don't make progress." I remember that was a very scary moment for me when I realized I had sat in the car for about 15 minutes and actually contemplated putting Jody in the car and driving off the George Washington Bridge, and that would be preferable to having to put her in one of these schools.
It was only because of her other child, Alison Tepper-Singer said, that she did not go through with the murder-suicide. Filmmaker Lauren Theory called this section gutsy and courageous and added in her own words, "If most mothers of autistic children look hard enough within themselves, they will find that they have played out a similar scenario in their minds. If this is not your reality, then God bless you." A petition, which can be found by Googling the words Autism Speaks, Don't Speak for Me, has been set up by autistics to counter Autism Speaks claims. The petition calls for a public apology from Lauren Theory for increasing ignorance regarding autism. Fox News has reported that Bob Wright and his wife Suzanne, the founders of Autism Speaks, and Lauren Theory are in dispute over this film. The article entitled Celebrity Autism Group in Civil War reports that Theory wanted to be paid for making Autism Every Day, but when the Wrights sent her a contract with a blank space for the fee, it included a proviso that Theory could not do any publicity for this film. Theory countered by sending a bill for $104,000, including $64,000 for labor and $40,000 for intellectual property. For that amount, she was willing to allow the Wrights to buy her out. Ironically, Theory had already told the Wrights she would be splitting her fee with an autism school in New York. The Wrights countered through their executive Alison Singer that Theory was paid $30,000 and that they have compensated her in full, but Singer cannot produce any evidence of this payment. With regards to the United Nations Association with Autism Speaks is quoted as saying, "As an associated NGO, Autism Speaks will be committed to participating in UN DPI organized briefings and events, to disseminating information about autism and the work of the United Nations, both locally and worldwide." Yet, though claiming to speak for autistics, Autism Speaks has been known to silence autistics who speak out. In an article published February 2nd of this year entitled Voices of Autism Silenced by Charity, it was reported that, like many people with autism, an autistic blogger who went by the screen name of AbScout was angry about the way the condition was portrayed by Autism Speaks. To try and paint a different picture, AbScout set up a spoof website called ntspeaks.org, a parody of the site of the New York-based charity Autism Speaks. This was well within her rights as a parody. The NT stands for neurotypical, a term sometimes used by people with autism to describe the rest of the population who does not have autism. However, in response to demands from Autism Speaks and its legal department, AbScout took the site down. Autism Speaks claims the site infringed its copyright and that it could have confused people looking for information regarding autism spectrum disorders. This in turn has outraged AbScout supporters who say that Autism Speaks is suppressing the views of the very people it supposedly represents and helps. People in the state of Pennsylvania have expressed frustration with Autism Speaks as well. In an article published July 3, 2008, entitled Pennsylvania Tells Autism Speaks to Stop Talking, it stated that Autism Speaks, a national organization that conducts fundraising for research, and their paid lobbyists from Icon Inc. made several backdoor concessions on the bill without the consent of Speaker O'Brien. In an unparalleled move, the entire Pennsylvania and national autism community stood in unity to support Speaker O'Brien to say, "Only the Speaker speaks for me." Over 62 organizations across Pennsylvania and nationally converged to show support for the Speaker, who has a nephew with autism. This is an amazing effort on the part of the entire autism community to tell Autism Speaks that the children come first, not politics, said Cindy Walterman, president of Autism Link, a statewide Pennsylvania autism advocacy and information organization. I think it is abundantly clear that Autism Speaks is not speaking for Pennsylvania. I've never seen this type of grassroots activity in all my years in the autism community. This level of unity definitely sends a clear message, but is Autism Speaks listening? Of equal surprise is that the daughter of the founders of Autism Speaks is estranged from her parents over a dispute about autism. Fox News reported that the Wrights created Autism Speaks February of 2004 when their grandson, Christian, was diagnosed with the disorder. But since then, they've had such a severe falling out with their daughter Katie, Christian's mother, that the internet is now buzzing with a scandal. The Wrights posted a press release on the Autism Speaks website, in effect disowning Katie's comments in a video interview she gave to a critic of Autism Speaks. Katie Wright also appeared on The Oprah Show in April of 2007, where she talked about the split with her parents. Even the press release issued by the Wrights caused a buzz because it initially read, "Kate Wright is not a spokesperson for Autism Speaks. Our daughter's personal views differ from ours and do not represent or reflect the ongoing mission of Autism Speaks. Her appearance with David Kirby was done without the knowledge or consent of Autism Speaks." Only later, when the statement seemed too harsh, did the Wrights change the release, adding, "She is our daughter and we love her very much." Controversy seems to follow the organization overseas as well. In England, an Autism Speaks staffer was sacked from a different organization for moonlighting. It was reported that the British Polio Fellowship said it had sacked one of its fundraisers who had asked to work from home, but turned out to be doing the same job for two other charities at the same time. It claims that Andrew Coots was working full-time for Autism Speaks and part-time for the Dyspraxia Foundation at a time when he was supposed to be home working full-time for the British Polio Fellowship. He was not only fired, but also reported to the police. In summary, the United Nations has placed Autism Speaks in a position which now gives it the ability to affect the lives of autistics on a global level, even though it has been surrounded by controversy in both the media and in online venues, as well as in real life. The preceding has been a Midnight in Chicago FYI news bulletin for Saturday, December 27, 2008. Midnight in Chicago is a tourism and cultural initiative that raises awareness of autism spectrum disorders and related illnesses, as well as funds for autism organizations.